Hey everyone, Chris Haddon and Jason Balin with REI360.net, the REI360 Show, episode number 23. Our guest today is going to be John Fedro from mobileHomeInvesting.net.
Yeah, John's an expert at mobile home investing based out of Texas. I certainly will be learning a lot of stuff because we don't know much about mobile home investing.
That's right.
For all the loans we've done and all the properties that we've purchased over the years, it's one thing we've never really got into. So I'm really interested in it. Check it out right now.
Hey everyone, Chris and Jason here. We have a special guest, John Fedro from mobileHomeInvesting.net. John, thanks for being with us.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for asking. Flattered and very humbled. Thank you.
So we have some cool stuff to go over today. John has a very interesting niche and one that probably we haven't looked into. Out of everything going on in our office and in our company's world of real estate, we don't know much at all about mobile home investing, but we plan to learn.
Well, you are like the masses. Everyone they just ignore them or turn their noses up, or just probably more unconsciously don't even think about mobiles. But yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah,
Sure.
let's do that. How'd you end up in that niche? How'd you get started in real estate? And tell us a little bit about your history.
Sure. Before that, before 13 years ago, just working dead-end jobs, a valet, cell phone salesman, knew there was more for me, and I picked up I think it was a Ron LeGrand course or something, and I just read through it, and these pie-in-the-sky deals. Oh, I can do this, and it fired me up for real estate. Well, spent my $3,000 life savings on marketing and door knocking, and just didn't get anything to show for it. My very first deal was a mobile home. Actually, I was so green at the time, I didn't even know to ask about mobile homes. So I showed up in the park, and they were asking like $8,000 for it, and went ahead and I only had a few $100 at the time. So I talked the seller to giving me it for $3,000 with $300 to her today, and then 9 more payments of $300. And then with very little work, went ahead and turned that one around. Now, that would open my eyes to it, but then what really showed me is that no one else was doing this in my area. And it was Florida at the time, and I mean, that was a big market. And I was kind of embarrassed at it and didn't tell anyone. And then just one deal led to another and another. And after my first year, had like a dozen properties and just kept going with them.
So when you do mobile home investing, is most of that like a longer term play, or do you flip them to an owner who wants to buy that mobile home park, or do you, like in that case, you gave her $300 down, you had $300 payments after that? Did you just go and rent that out after the fact afterwards for $900, kept the arbitrage? Like, what's your model?
Most parks won't allow renting. If you're near a military town, some will. But most of what we do is purchase and then resell.
Got it.
Now, you're not reselling it with cash. Just the type of buyers that we sell to, good people, hardworking folks, but just don't have the type of savings, $10,000 or $20,000 cash. If they did, they probably put that down on a home or a house. So these folks that we're working with, they're making us payments for the price of the home.
Excellent.
Oh, so they in essence buy it from you over time.
Correct.
Oh, that's
Either
cash flow. I get it.
Yeah, mobile homes in parks, mobile homes on your own private land, mobile homes that have to be moved from land into somewhere else. I just earlier this year, I closed on my very first mobile home park, the complete thing.
Mm-hmm.
It took me this long to get this, so
Yeah.
I kind of feel behind the 8 ball, but super excited.
Nice.
It's great.
Now, is most of your stuff is in your local market of Austin, or is all over the country?
It is now all over the country since I've been fortunate enough to help folks, but most of it's primarily in Florida and Texas.
Okay, just a few areas. Yeah, I mean it's funny. We've in our local market we've done over 1,000 hard money loans, acquired a few hundred properties, rentals, flips and stuff. And in our sphere of the guys we do business with and our borrowers, I don't know anyone that really does much mobile home investing.
I know one. We know one group who bought a mobile home park a few years back, maybe
That's
5
right.
years ago.
And there's mobile homes everywhere. There really is. I mean, I know of a lot of different
Sure.
parks here. We're in D.C., but in Maryland, Virginia, D.C. I mean, they're all over the place. I just don't. It's weird. It's just I feel like I don't know many people that invest in them.
Now, there are some areas of the country that you can absolutely are more prone to selling them for cash. So double, triple your money with cash buyers. You can do that much more readily in some areas than others. I'm curious, would you lend on a mobile home, either in a park or on private land? Or
So that opportunity has come to us before, and we didn't do it mostly because didn't really know the ins and outs of it. So two reasons. Chris and I both came from conventional mortgage backgrounds in the early 2000s, and then in the mid 2000s, we got into real estate investing, and then eventually to hard money. So back then you get a mobile home park, and you put it as like a conventional loan. It's like, nope, this is
it was always a turn
down.
down.
It was always a turn
Always
down.
a turn down.
There was a little siren that went off.
Loan on this. Although I do feel like we're pretty creative when it comes to stuff, but a lot of it had to do with just not knowing and going back to if it was a loan against, as a hard money lender, we only lend to real estate investors, obviously, and if it was a homeowner that did it, obviously that would be an absolutely no. If it was a real estate investor and we probably could get creative and learn a little bit more about it, they had some skin to put in the deal, absolutely probably consider it. It just hasn't come up that often.
Okay.
Hey, John, one thing, if you could, walk us through the numbers of a typical deal of yours. The purchase price, what you're reselling it to in terms of monthly payments and total price of like an average looking deal.
Sure. I'll give you a conservative one kind of from the East Coast to the West Coast, and we'll talk sort of mobile homes in parks, just the individual rectangle, sitting on some rented land. Because that's typically what folks, when they're newer in this business, that's what they get into.
Right.
Which you can build a really good cash flowing business with just those homes.
So they're spending a few $100 to rent out the land, and then they slap their mobile home on top, right?
Right. Yeah. These parks are, owned by a company or one person, and they just have their plots of land,
exactly. Okay.
100 or 20, however many. But you usually pay monthly, and it varies around the country. Typically, maybe 200 on the low side to $800-900 over in the coastal areas or more. So the numbers, we're always looking to sort of the kind of working backwards. We're always looking to make all of our money back within 10 months maximum. So all the invested money, the holding cost, the acquisition cost, when we resell it, when we get that move-in fee and the monthly payments, we're looking to make our money back in about 10 months maximum. We're also looking to get about $300 net cash flow. Now, with that sort of put out there, we're buying these homes for, and again, you can buy handyman, you can buy them where they need work, you can buy them where they're beautiful. I like to go the path of least resistance, so not too many repairs. They're in family parks. We're buying them from anywhere from between $2,500 to $5,000 is a conservative number. Anything higher than that, maybe $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 when we're giving payments to a seller. But it's really amazing when I'm working with folks, or just to see this around the country, that you can purchase homes, good quality homes, central heat and air systems, roof, walls, carpet, safe homes for just a few $1,000s. So we put some money into them sometimes. We sell them as handyman specials sometimes. Ultimately, the numbers have to be attractive to the tenant buyer. But we're getting anywhere from a move-in fee of anywhere from maybe $1,500 if it's that handyman special, all the way up to $6,000-7,000 as a move-in fee, and then about 5 years worth of payments. And again, we shoot for about $300 minimum cash flow per month. So the most of our homes, 2-3 bedrooms, it's going to be $18,000 or more, because of the payments, and then you add on a move-in fee, and we sell for 5 years. So
are they taking ownership immediately, and you're just kind of seller financing and being the bank on it, or is it more like a lease option type of situation?
No, they take immediate ownership.
They take immediate ownership, and you're, whatever the money you had out of it, they're putting some money down goes back to you, plus they're making payments on it, and obviously that's decent too, because you could probably end up going to sell that note if you wanted to liquidate cash or do whatever with it.
Well, you could. There's a couple issues to that. Those would be sort of risky notes because it's in a park. We also use unsecured notes sometimes. So, but if you wanted to, that certainly could be an exit strategy. That's something I've done in the past too, where to just raise money by selling that note.
Because there's banks that finance these, though, right?
There are some banks that finance them. For the folks listening, you want to try local credit unions. Those are usually friendlier than banks, but some banks will lend on a mobile home in a park.
Yeah, I remember that. I've seen that in the past, and especially if they're putting some money down and they still have that collateral. So their collateral's, the collateral's still is that considered a movable vehicle.
It
Don't
is
some of them have VIN numbers and then some are permanent structures? Like
correct.
I remember doing private loans on some of those back in the day before I got into money lending. And I remember I remember the names of some of those that they had, and I don't know,
I like
that's
the
all coming back to me.
it's amazing to see, and what they're doing now, how they're building them. I just went to a show a couple months ago, and it blew my mind. They're actually kind of ahead of the curve of houses with the technology that they have in them and
Yeah.
the insulation, and they're built in a factory, so they can, they're a lot cheaper than traditional site-built homes. But it'll be interesting to see what the future has for,
Yeah,
with
like a
these,
lot of people
mobile
do
homes.
modular types of homes around here, because
Good
the
point.
same thing. It's built in a factory, everything's there, comes out on a truck, and it's slapped together.
Right,
Looks great.
and some of them you can't even tell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a similar setup. Um, is there a lot of inventory for these types of deals throughout the country? Like what do you in your business model? Is it harder to find owners to buy to buy the properties that you own, or harder to find deals, harder to find properties?
It varies by the area. There's always going to be buyers who want to make you payments.
Okay.
So that's kind of a consistent thing there. If there's too much inventory, it might be easy to buy and a little bit difficult to sell, but you just have to buy more correct,
Yeah.
I suppose. If you're in an area where there's just a lot for sale, then that means that all those buyers, they have maybe choices to go to all those other sellers. So you just need to purchase correctly, know the numbers in your area, and then you can still make that home attractive and the payments attractive to the tenant buyer. The inventory around the country, except for Washington, D.C. and Hawaii, there's mobile homes in every area. One thing I like to do, and somebody can, one of the videos I've done before on YouTube, shows how to find local parks in your area. And this is certainly sort of an inventory, like a numbers game. The more mobile home parks that you have around you, just the more opportunities naturally that you'll have to help, sellers, motivated sellers, non-motivated sellers, buyers. So if you're in the middle of nowhere, you're going to have maybe like a larger farm or investing radius than somebody that lives in a metropolitan hub.
Sure.
Uh,
So,
so that's about the only. But I've worked with people in both, and if you're willing to drive or make that commitment, then
sure.
you
So did I
have enough.
catch that right? There's not one mobile home in Washington D.C. Is that what you said?
That from the research I've done, I haven't been. I've
No,
been
I'm
through
not
DC,
counting.
but not entirely through it. But yes, that is what I'm
So
saying.
no space to put it in the district.
Yeah, I no, I mean no, I mean I've seen them in Maryland.
Sure.
I've seen them in Virginia. I mean we covered that whole area. I mean we're right outside of D.C. So I don't know. My head was turning. I'm like that could be right.
Yeah, that could be an accurate stat.
It's one of, it's one of those
Uh,
things that if you're going to lie, just lie big. There's like,
No, I mean that could be right. Well, the reason I was asking related to inventory is, we're obviously in a hot market on the East Coast, and it's hard to find deals. I mean, we're a hard money lender with more money than we have deals, and we've always and sometimes people think that's crazy, and it's like, listen, if I want to do bad deals, I can deploy more money. I get that, but it's hard to find good deals all the time, and we work with a lot of borrowers that do a lot of marketing. They buy at auctions, and people, it's inflated. So my purpose of that question was it could be a good niche to get into if
If
there's
there is inventory,
if
there's a lot of
if there's
inventory,
good place to
sure.
get inventory.
Um,
I'm not going to disagree.
John, switching gears for a sec, let me ask you. In addition to growing and managing your own portfolio of properties, you're also teaching other investors about this niche. Is that right?
Correct.
What do you have going on there? How exactly? I saw your podcast, some other stuff on your site, but yeah, what kind of stuff are you putting out or
Yeah,
offering to?
sure. It was a labor of love, really. Back in Florida, before I moved to Austin, I was in charge of a little real estate investors club, and people knew, I would solicit, hey, if you know mobile homes, bring them to me. Um, and then, people were curious, and they said, oh, John's doing mobile homes, I'm going to do some. So a few of the members started doing their deals without any of my help, and I would have been happy to help them. But it's so easy to do a bad mobile home deal. The four major areas, you can overspend, you can overimprove, you put the wrong person in, and you sell just for way too little. So there's a lot of like burnt out investors of mobile homes that have bad things to say about them. So just started making a blog, going online and telling my story, and it morphed into, helping people and making a system to help folks, and it blew my mind. I mean, I knew that I could do this, and I had the fire inside myself to invest in my local area of Florida, which this was like 6 years ago when I started being online, or 7 now. So, and then it just blown me away that people now across the country can do this. Like if I was dropped off naked without any money, I would at least have something to fall back on, like no matter where I was in the country. That's just so cool. So yeah, it's the podcast, and then there's a membership site and training and plenty of YouTube videos, and I'm always available if anyone wants to email me. But
Nice.
pretty much just, yeah, there wasn't any information out there, and it's just so, I saw those people's faces when they did the bad deals, and man, I knew what they did as soon as they told me about it, and it was just, and I've seen that time and time again now since being online and people just doing bad deals. So it's so easy to do something bad. I just wanted to, and I've made a ton of mistakes, so just
Sure.
wanted to
Yeah,
help
we see a
prevent
lot
that.
of bad deals as a hard money lender too. So, like, believe me, like
Okay.
I know you think you're emotional and you're going to sell for this price, but I promise you, you're not. It's let us be like your last chance. It's like we could loan at this dollar figure, but there's a reason you need so much darn cash to close because you're just buying it wrong. So,
So you kind of help. I mean, you're not just the lenders; you're kind of therapists a little bit too, or
well, our whole model.
Advisors more than therapists.
okay, better way to
In,
say it.
in general, the whole model is repeat borrowers, right? So if someone's going to get it, a newbie's going to come in and do their first deal, and let's say we lend them $100,000, they're going to need $40,000 or something cash to close. It's a good amount of cash to close because they're probably not buying it right. They probably think it's worth 200. We probably think it's worth 150, and we know, hey, yeah, we get a deal out of it, but that's going to be the last deal because they're going to lose their shirt. So you should rethink this. Go look for another deal. Get off MLS because that's the only place you're on, and go look for let's do some direct marketing and stuff like that. And obviously the REI 360 is a membership platform and a software platform and tools that we have for real estate investors. And we're kind of at the point of, do we want to keep spreading it out to the world and collecting membership fees on it, or keep it just to hard money bankers clients, keep educating them? Because obviously I'd love to get all our borrowers that we do maybe 2 or 3 deals a year for to do 12 deals a year because it directly comes back. So we have a big education department through our lending company to try to educate local folks to try to get deals out of it. Because that, let's be honest, I mean, doing a hard money loan with a few points, a few $100,000 loan with a few points, plus the money we make on the servicing side of things. I mean, it's good revenue. So it makes sense for us to kind of educate folks to try to get more loans out of it.
What a great thing! Yeah, the absolutely win-win, and good for them. And yeah, that's awesome.
So that works. And the thing I picked up earlier related to the mobile home investing, the barrier to entry is great because it really, it's hard to get into a deal. It's hard to get into a deal with no money down. I mean, you have a hard money lender, you have a private lender, you still got to make some payments. It's hard to do that because the loan amounts are just a lot. They're high-end properties. But by doing what you're doing on that, even if you only need a few $1,000s, it's manageable.
It's it's so funny. We really do live. Actually, I'm not sure. I've been doing this now for 13 years. It hasn't changed much, even with all of my shouting from the rooftops. There's just, this mobile home investing, we're in a sort of a luxury of a business because there's just not that much competition. I mean, buyers are flaky. The financing sucks. Buyers don't have a lot of money. Investors, that we're not on, in mobile homes on many investors' radars. We'll put it that way. So when you show up to sellers' homes, I mean, it makes sense of why we can purchase homes sometimes we only purchase homes the prices we do, or we just don't buy them. But when that cliche thing where you show up as like the white knight on your horse,
Yeah.
and like you're solving problems. Well, I realized that wasn't really the case when I was doing single family homes or trying to do them. But with mobile homes, there's just not that many folks. So we really do provide such a great service, and we're able to purchase homes for the prices and terms that we do. So the barrier to entry is it's there. I mean, it's still $3,000 to $5,000, which still a lot of people don't even have. But it's certainly a lot lower, and the risk is a lot lower than single families in a lot of ways.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like that niche. I mean, that makes a lot of sense for that reason, and also the win-win factor too. I mean, the best transactions, without a doubt, should be win-win.
I agree. Yeah, for the long term. longevity of this. That's something I did. I was, for like the first 5 years of my business, I was always sort of in this mentality of it's me as the investor versus a seller, and sort of a zero-sum game. If I win, you lose. The more you get, the less I get. And that was completely wrong. And when I changed my paradigm to actually helping people, and realizing that every seller should get, what they want, and here's how I can help. Here's how other ways that you can, probably sell your home. My word of mouth advertising went up. The deals I was closing went up. The rapport I was building with people went up. So there's a lot to say about that. The win-win. It's not just hocus pocus. It can help your bottom line, big time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet that a lot of people in our database, people who will see this, our YouTube followers, social media people, everything else, I bet people are going to be interested in this niche for sure. Would you mind telling everyone where they can find you and where they can learn
Yeah,
more about what you're doing?
absolutely. The main site is mobilehomeinvesting.net, and there's a ton of free information there. A lot of free information. I mean, enough to certainly get you started and interested and understanding your area a lot better.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, again, John, thanks a lot for being with us. Great info. I mean, that's pretty cool stuff.
Right on.
Happy to learn.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for inviting me. Seriously, anytime. This has been
Awesome.
great.
We appreciate it. And if you ever want us to come talk about hard money or all the stuff we do here in this little show we got going on, we're happy to do so.
Okay, let's talk about it. Excellent.
Cool.
All right, John.
Thanks,
Thanks,
man.
guys. Thanks, everyone.